The NFC East had its biggest shakeup in recent history this offseason, which resulted really in a complete power shift from top to bottom. And in this video, let's look at each team's biggest moves, but also their worst decisions that might hold them back in 2024. Plus, why the Philadelphia media can't seem to stop going after Jalen Hurts. Well, they did it yet again. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. I don't think we realize just how much of a target the Eagles and Cowboys have had on their back the past couple of years until you kind of look back at the past few months at the rest of the NFC East and realize what monumental shifts all these teams have gone under in order to become more competitive in 2024. Now, sure, for instance, the Birds did not win the NFC East last year. The Cowboys did, mainly due to the Eagles' horrific collapse at the end of the year. The Birds have still been the class of the East the past few seasons in terms of wins and, more importantly, playoff wins to boot, which is something that Dallas Cowboys, who, yes, they win a lot of regular season games, can't seem to figure out the past couple of years in terms of playoff games, aka the Packers coming to your home stadium and murdering you in the postseason. And even though ESPN recently gave the Eagles the award for the best offseason out of any team in 2024, still, we gotta be honest here, the rest of the NFC East did make some serious strides that I think is really gonna shift the balance of power in the division this coming year. First though, before watching the rest of this video, I want you guys to predict the NFC East standings at the end of this season down below in the comment section. Who's 1, 2, 3, 4? Go down below, curious where you guys are rating and really grading the rest of the NFC East. Now, while you do that, I figure, why not upset you a little bit by taking a quick peek into what the Philly media has been covering the past few days before we get into the rest of the NFC East part of the video. And what do you know? Jalen Hurts' press conference over about a week ago now continues to drive the press absolutely nuts as the never dramatic Howard Eskin told WIP just the other day the Eagles might be getting ready to get rid of Jalen Hurts if he doesn't produce this year.
The offense is Kellen Moore's. It's not Nick Sirianni's. It's Kellen Moore's offense, and we already know it. Nick Sirianni is a very good coach. I know there's people that don't, and Joe, you're probably one of them, that don't want to believe that. The players respect him. Maybe Jalen has some questions, but it's not the head coach. If you're worried about the offense, then it's Kellen Moore, and he gets along with Kellen Moore. So, what are you trying to do? It's just he better have a good year, and I think he'll have a better year. But I think he needs to have a good year, or they're going to Carson Wentz him if he doesn't have a good year.
Now, I share that more for self-promotion, just showing why you should watch shows like this, shows like the Josh Davis Philly Special Show, instead of WIP, but by now, if you watch my show, you probably know that. But let's just say Howard Eskin's 100% right there. Everything he says is true, which I highly doubt. The idea the Eagles are going to Carson Wentz Hurts if he doesn't have a good season this year is really, really ridiculous for a number of reasons. Like, by the way, Carson Wentzing Jalen Hurts doesn't even really make sense just at face value, because even Wentz himself admitted that he was the one who forced his way out of Philadelphia after being benched for Jalen. So Jalen, of course, pulling a Carson Wentz would actually mean that Jalen wants out, not the Eagles wanting to get rid of him. Which, due to his contract, no trade clause, the talent now around him, his love for Philadelphia, and the idea that we all think he's going to have a good year, makes it pretty impossible Carson Wentzing Jalen Hurts could ever actually happen. But the media must make money somehow, and they got to sell advertisements and get clicks and get people to listen to their radio stations, and so drama like this will continue until the start of training camp, where they'll find a new piece of drama to go ahead and sink their teeth in. Still, though, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the new A.J. Brown this year, and the media is going to scrutinize every single thing he does. I'm just going to go ahead and prepare you for it right now. Now, Jalen, of course, doesn't really seem to care. The only thing we have from him this offseason so far is actually this picture taken yesterday, posted by Saquon Barkley, of Jalen Hurts and Saquon working out somewhere at apparently some college stadium. Can't really make out exactly where this is, but while the media wants to rip Jalen Hurts is, of course, trying to get better each and every day as we march closer and closer towards training camp. By now, you probably heard me talk about my channel partner, Aura, and how I've been using them the past couple of months, and how really great their identity theft protection has been. And I've mentioned this before, but they helped dramatically reduce the amount of spam emails I received, and also notified me about the AT&T data breach last month. But I definitely didn't truly understand just how great the monitoring power of Aura was until I got married. Everyone who's gotten married knows what I went through the past couple of months, setting up all these different joint accounts, investing accounts, and making sure that we're all on the same page. But all of that came with signing a bunch of new documents via DocuSign. And even though all these documents were legit, like I needed to go in and sign them, each time I hit sign, I would go ahead and get an email and text message from Aura just checking in to make sure it was me and not someone trying to steal my identity or investing accounts. It's actually pretty cool to get to experience just how good their monitoring platform works. Like, it's given me even more peace of mind that if someone was was actually trying to steal my identity or get into some of my accounts, or would catch it and let me know right away. And it's not just identity theft or keeping your email free of all those annoying spam and junk emails. They also have transaction monitoring, parental controls, spam call protection, and a whole bunch more. Now, I value my privacy, and I know you guys value yours, which is why I've teamed up with Aura to give you guys a 2-week free trial. Just go to aura.com/ThomasMott. It should be down below me right there. There it is. Also in the description box as well. Sign up and get protected today. Now, we did get another interview clip yesterday of Eagles' second-year pass rusher Nolan Smith at his charity golf tournament here in Georgia, where he was asked about himself and Jalen Carter and what to expect in year 2. This is pretty good.
Your thoughts on Jalen Carter's first season in the NFL?
Man, they realized that he one of them dogs and he explosive, and he started to get the slide when they picked that up because they was giving him one-on-ones, and I was watching him and I say, hey, if we ever get the man side together, you know, we work games. And man, I just love my dog, but man, once they start realizing, oh, we got to slide to that man, mama, that's that man. So
Nolan's rookie season was very lackluster. We all know that. How much the injury plays a factor in that kind of remains to be seen. But Jalen Carter was fantastic out of the gate until things really started to slow down there in the second half of the season. I can't wait to see exactly what Carter looks like in year 2. If the jump is as big as we all think it's going to be, then he's going to be a top 5 defensive tackle, if not better, very, very soon. Now, in terms of the NFC East, I do think we can all agree, I think Cowboy fans would agree here too, that Dallas did have technically the worst or was the biggest loser out of everybody in the division, right? Like, let's just start with the bat. Saying you're going all in and then not going all in is never really a good look for a fan base. Plus, you have 3 major contracts that really need to get done, and Parsons, Lamb, and Prescott, and so far, none of those contracts have come even close to actually getting finished, which of course leads Jerry Jones to eventually need to shell out even more money, tying more of the team's future cap space into just 3 players. Dallas really feels like a team in limbo. They don't really love their quarterback, they don't really love their head coach, and their talent overall just isn't that great. It feels like a lame duck season could truly be brewing in Big D. Now, in terms of good moves, I do think their emphasis on drafting offensive line talent will help whoever the quarterback is in the future, and I guess bringing Zeke back so Cowboy fans can dust off their old jerseys is somewhat of a plus, and sure, Eric Kendricks is a nice piece at linebacker, but overall, we start with the Dallas Cowboys because their offseason might be one of the worst even Cowboy fans have seen in a very long time. Now, next on the list has to be the New York Football Giants. I think a team that's been so stuck in mediocrity the past 8 years, they have one winning season over, let's just look at it here, the past 7. But they did do some good things. Like Brian Burns is legit a young stud pass rusher and someone teams should want to trade assets away and pay big money for. Drew Lock adds some interesting competition to Danny Dimes at quarterback, and 2 new offensive linemen are never really a bad thing in free agency for a team like the Giants. I also think the Giants draft plan worked out pretty well. Like, the top quarterbacks that they probably wanted were gone, so don't panic, don't press, don't go draft another Danny Dimes and JJ McCarthy. Take the best player on the board in Malik Neighbors and give your quarterback, your offense, and your play caller a real weapon for the first time since OBJ. Still, though, losing Saquon Barkley and especially Xavier McKinney is not a good look for a roster that does need help at both the secondary and the running back position. Like, you need as much talent as possible in New York, and the draft didn't really give them that much after Malik Neighbors. I think those 2 departures are going to cost them pretty dearly in the near future. The problem is the biggest weakness in the Giants is still there, and that has to be Daniel Jones, which creates another lame duck possibility for a football team that might just kind of, hold on to the course of the 2024 season and wait for a potential quarterback reset in April in New York next year. Now, the Washington Commanders are next, and I'll be honest here, the Commanders have been irrelevant for a very long time, other than just kind of being a pesky team the Eagles must face twice every single season. But this is easily, and I mean like easily, their best offseason in franchise history, and now their roster could finally be an actual threat in the NFC East. Like, first off, their entire front office, the upper echelon of personnel, it all got a massive reset. You got a new owner, new GM, obviously new front office, new head coach. All of those are solid moves, and at the worst will bring some sort of stability to a franchise in desperate need of it. Then they go out and add some aging veterans, yes, looking for final contracts like Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner, but gaining some veteran stability on a pretty young roster, it really can't be discounted. I'm also a pretty big fan of Austin Eckler, who should be able to thrive in the new-look Commander offense. Now, pair all this with a young quarterback who, again, at his worst, will at least light some sort of excitement under a quarterback-needy fan base. You have a roster that has weapons, they have pass rushers, and solid talent, at least now, at most every major level. Now, of course, the Commanders, like a lot of other quarterback-needy teams, will only go as far as their new shiny toy at quarterback. Same goes for the Patriots, same goes for the Bears, and of course, same goes for the Washington Commanders. If Jaden Daniels is good this year, I think they can win some games and be one of those dangerous teams you don't want to play in December, but they're still not going to be an NFC East winning franchise, at least this season, but they've definitely set themselves up for a possible success starting in 2025. Now, when it comes to the best part of the NFC East, it's still the Philadelphia Eagles, and we can be biased here all we want, and we probably are. Look yourself in the mirror. You're wearing green today? Well, you're probably a little biased, but still, the Birds took a roster that was 10-1 at one point last year and looked still pretty good and got rid of all of the coordinator coaching issues that most of us believe led to the collapse at the end of the year. Now they have an offensive coordinator whose sole purpose in life is to make Jalen Hurts' life easier, and a defensive coordinator who players keep raving about as a no-nonsense, smart, all-about-ball kind of guy.
I'm not saying the other guys weren't all about ball. I love JG, I love Desai, but Fangio is by the book, if that makes sense. We're going to come in this meeting, we buy the book, screw all the other stuff, let's get straight into this install. And that just embodies him as a coach. He's old school. He always mentions how back in the day, they used to have 2-a-days or sometimes even 3-a-days. And, he says he wish he could bring it back. But obviously now with the NFLPA, the CBA, we can't do that anymore. And practices are limited. It just shows what type of coach he is. He really has a love for the game. And, he's all about ball.
Add in the wizardry of Howie Roseman during free agency, and with his ability to make his players happy with team-friendly extensions that don't kill you with future cap hits, and, of course, a draft class that we all would have deemed impossible before April, and you have a roster with very, very, very few holes heading into 2024. Still, though, question marks are here, like linebacker remains a massive unknown, even for me, who thinks Devin White could be the savior we've all been hoping for the past couple years as LB1, but the unprovenness of Devin White after being benched last year and a linebacker group that has a lot of names that make you kind of go, linebacker has got to be big-time question mark for Philadelphia heading forward. I think the defensive line is another area where you kind of hold your breath. The interior should be just fine. It's really, how good is Bryce Huff? Is he going to be anywhere near close to what Hassan Reddick was in 2022, 2023? Is Josh Sweat finally going to blossom into a double-digit sack, kind of consistent player on the other side of this pass rush? Nolan Smith, is he ever going to show up here starting in year 2? All big-time question marks on the defensive line, but overall, when you look at this year's Birds versus last year's Birds at this time heading into training camp, the Eagles roster is at least 2 times better than it was with all the new additions, the coordinators, and I think, yes, the QB1. What's your biggest concern for the Philadelphia Eagles heading into 2024? Is it linebacker? Is it the new coordinators? Is it Nick Sirianni? Is it Jalen Hurts? Let me know what you think down below in the comments section. I'm going to read all of those and see where you guys are at. Still, though, I'm sitting here 32 days away from the start of training camp on July 23rd. Pretty darn excited about where the Birds roster is, at least overall. I'm Thomas Mott, hanging out here on a Thursday. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.